Hello and welcome to your Neighbourhood Show. I'm Carolyn, and the reason I started this podcast is because it actually comes from my own life's journey of growing up in Mumbai, India, in a very strong, connected neighbourhood where pretty much everyone knew everyone. And then over my 22-year marriage, I inadvertently, here in Australia, I inadvertently got disconnected or isolated rather. And after my marriage breakdown, I was kind of reflecting on my life and wondering, how did I come from that strong community and connectedness, and now when I need support the most, I don't have it. And so I went on this journey of wanting to get myself supported again and build that network of support around me. And in the process of doing that, I realized that there were many others like myself, and it's everywhere. There's disconnection everywhere. And so what the podcast is about drawing out beautiful stories, amazing stories actually, of everyday amazing people from their lives at times when they felt connected as well as disconnected, and to normalize it. But then how do we then move from times when we are disconnected and feel supported again? I've been so lucky to meet some amazing people through this process, and what I've realized is when I'm intentional about getting to know somebody, I can get to know them in 3 to 4 hours, and that's been the biggest blessing for me. Life, I suppose. I remember you sharing with me a few days ago about when all the times that you moved from one place to the other, but particularly when you moved from Mackay to Ipswich, and you felt quite unsupported in Ipswich, and you were able to overcome that. So I'd like to hear about that. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes. So we were in Mackay for about 3 years, and 2 of our children were born there. And the connections were very good. The neighbours were helpful and supportive, and we didn't have any relatives or any other friends before we'd moved there. And so it was very helpful, and I can't think of the word right now, but we felt so supported having that. Mm-hmm. And then we came to Ipswich, and again we didn't know anyone, but John's employment brought him there. And initially we were trying to find accommodation, and that just seemed really difficult to get. And then when our children needed to go to playgroup, we tried to connect with playgroup. Again, that was somehow not available to us. And so we were housebound with 3 kids and under 5, and thinking, what can I do to make life a bit more interesting? And somehow we met a person, and she said, oh, yes, I'll come, and I've got space in playgroup for you, and I'll come and pick you up and take you there. And meeting this incredible person just opened up doors for us, and she introduced us to other friends, and she introduced us to other groups, and she would include us in everything, just picked us up off the street. She didn't know us until then, but and she's over for more than 40 years now. She has been a lifelong friend and inspiration, a role model, and we feel part of her family and being included by all of them. So that was the difference, that at first I was feeling, how am I going to survive here? How are we going to give our children some sense of the wider community, that they can feel, have this sense of belonging? And she provided that for us. So, and I think we've remembered that, and we try and reach out to other people now when they are new to a community, or they different, or they just don't fit in. We try and bring them in and introduce them to our friends, and hope that we can meet a common point somewhere where they also can have this sense of belonging, because belonging is such an important thing. And you know through history that especially once industrialization happened, that when people came to the cities towns for jobs, but they didn't have that backup, that support, the community support, didn't know, then, mental health and other things just go downhill, and you really do need that backup support somehow, and that community support, the community network.
Yeah, so I'm just hearing the lady that helped you, and I remember at your recent anniversary party, she got up and spoke as well, and that was so lovely for us all to hear. This was the woman that actually supported you all many, many years ago, and you still have this long-standing relationship with her. And not only did she help you, but she's inspired you to return back, and you all have blown that out of the water as far as I know, because you'll try to be welcoming to so many people just in the short time that I know. John, when Mary was, this lady came into your life and supported your wife who had three children under 5, did you say? Wow, that's a big deal, I know. Anyway, how was that for you in terms of, you would have been, you would have had your full-time work, I suppose, and it would have been tell me, what was the experience for you?
Well, it's a pleasant memory now.
Yes.
Excuse me, please. It's a pleasant memory, and I guess at that stage, like now, I followed Mary into these situations, and I guess I was going with the flow, and I still do.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a huge support from what I know, and I mean, it takes two to tango, they say. It's not just a one-sided thing. There's two people always when you go out to support people. I remember when my father and mother would do things at home. My mother would be busy doing the cooking. My father would be on his scooter running around getting shopping for the party. So there's always a partnership happening. We can't do things alone. Yeah, tell us about your teenage years.
Oh, they were interesting because I was riding my horses everywhere and stuff like that. And then eventually I was in grade 11 and I wasn't doing so well. I was quite rebellious. And then my father found me a job.
Wow. Your father found you a job?
Yeah.
And what was that?
It was in the middle of the Marlborough stretch on a cattle stud.
Wow.
So I went there.
So how far was that from where you were?
A long way, like I think 600 kilometres or something like that.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And no phones and stuff in those days?
No, my parents didn't have a phone because they were changing houses. And so basically I got off a Greyhound bus with a saddle and a bag of clothes at 2:00 in the morning and started work the next day. Yeah.
And did you know anybody at that place?
No one at all. There was another 2 girls that were in a unit beside me.
So what was the idea, do you think, of your dad sending you to this place for?
That I'd grow up, which had happened.
They what? Sorry, for you to grow up.
Yeah, that I would grow up, which happened.
Wow.
Yeah, we worked really hard from daylight to dark, feeding Brahman bulls and breaking the smaller bulls in for sales. So, and then on the other property, which we used to go mustering on, we would be there go up at 4:00 in the morning and come home at 8:00 at night. Yeah.
Goodness me. So your dad sends you to this place about 4 or 5 hours away in terms of distance, driving distance?
Probably
more.
Yeah, more in those days. Yeah.
And you don't know anybody there at this farm.
No
it's out in the whoop somewhere.
Yeah.
And you can't contact your parents easily?
No, can't contact anybody. So eventually they would send a telegram and then they would ring that night. Yeah, but that was, I couldn't just pick up a phone and call them, and it was 2 weeks to get a letter. Yeah, so I was very homesick.
Wow, yeah. So, and do you think that has contributed to your becoming more resilient and learning to deal with life as it throws you stuff?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was a really good experience for me. It was a very hard physical life, but it definitely made me change my mind about where I wanted to go. And I went back and studied.
But I remember you saying that when you were on that farm that you were,
it was so remote that your Sunday outings was on your horse to go and get ice cream from the local town or something like that.
We used to drive about, ride our horses about 5 miles down to a service station and get ice cream and ride back, because none of us had cars. So then basically in Marlborough there was a pub with a little bit of, they did the post office stuff, and that was it, and a service station about 5 miles away. So
I'd be bawling my eyes out.
I did. I did lots of crying with the bulls because I was so homesick. But I survived.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You know, when I think about it, crying is actually quite therapeutic. It's a really good thing to cry.
Yeah.
I remember I've done a lot of crying in my life, but when you cry, it's almost like it washes over and it kind of heals you. If you cried, you know, like really sob, it's like washes over you. And then after you, of course, you have swollen eyes and snotty nose and all of that, but then you feel so much better. So it's like almost like a coping mechanism, but we don't think of it as that. We think of it as, oh, you shouldn't cry. You shouldn't cry so much, you know. You should be happy all the time kind of thing. So would you say that crying helped you when you were out in this remote?
Yes, because that's all I could do. I couldn't change any of my circumstance. I couldn't ring anybody and say, I'm really sad today. So I cried, and then I got up and went to work, and I was physically exhausted most nights because the work was really physical.
Yes.
And the bulls were rather challenging, as
That's
Brahman bulls are.
That's just amazing. I mean, I don't know that I could send my child so far away. And how old were you again? 17?
16.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I would never do it to my child. But
obviously your father had some level of confidence in your abilities to deal with, you know, life and whatever else.
I would have done it near Tully, but I went to a place called King Ranch outside Tully, and I worked there a couple of days as a jewelleroo. But because I was a girl, they wouldn't let me go out to the camps on the outer stations to muster cattle. So this place had other females, so that's why my father said, well, you could go there.
Right. And did you make many friends over there while you were on that? Like, have you maintained friendships?
No, not really, because it was just sort of a part in time.
Transient kind of 6 months.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it was just, 6 months, small amount of time.
Yeah. Like a learning experience. Come, hey, Deb, have a look at your life and have a good think about where you want to go.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think so. And if I talk to parents today, I mean, it was such a good experience.
Absolutely.
I would recommend that if someone is being really rebellious, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
To go to the country, experience some physical work, and get on with life then.
I mean, from the talks that we've had, I kind of know that you've made some really sound decisions in your life at challenging points. And I really admire all of those decisions, by the way. I have told you that.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't help but think that those decisions could have come from, an amazing childhood.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear about that and share that perhaps with our audience.
Yes, I've been very fortunate. I've grown up in community, I suppose. I'm one of 9 children. I grew up in Toowoomba, and I'm the third eldest of that 9 children. And so we grew up in a house where you had to learn to dialogue, talk, and get on with one another and deal with conflict and deal with the good times and the bad. And so my childhood was one of living in community, and we lived in our local parish, and we lived only about 500 metres away from our local church community, and that whole experience of living and being part of a church community that we were very involved in was also part of my formation. So, and the other big thing, I suppose I grew up in a Catholic ghetto because part of the deal of living and being Catholic was to be part of the Catholic education system. So we went through the Catholic schools as well, and that was another expanding aspect of who I was. So it was interesting when we went to a lot of gatherings, and a lot of our social events were with other members of our religious denomination. So, so I probably lived a fairly narrowly defined cultural dynamic, unlike living in maybe, say, India for you, which was much more culturally diverse. And we were pretty much Anglo-Celtic in that experience as well. So.
And you had 9 children. Wow, that's a community in itself.
That is. It is.
But you also had, I think from what I remember, you had your aunties and
that's right.
You had cousins and
for the first 7 years we lived next to my father's mother and father, and so we lived. There were 2 houses side by side, and I grew up not knowing. Well, I slept in one, but I moved freely between the 2 houses. And in the street there were aunties and cousins, and my grandmother on my father's side lived around the corner. She died by the time I came along, but still that neighbourhood and our family were fairly much present. So that was another aspect of growing up. It was, community and familiarity and acceptance and lots of people and
like a village.
Like a village, yeah.
I like to say I was a village kid.
You're a village kid too, yeah.
Sounds like you were too.
I was, in that sense, yeah.
And interesting that you say third eldest.
Third eldest, yeah. So it was interesting. It's probably middle child because the first 5 came fairly close. We're about 1 year apart. Mum had, 5 kids under the age of 7, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was part of that fairly intense. And I saw myself as more of a middle child, and that the next 4 came a little bit later. Yeah.
So did you kind of feel like you were part of having to look after your brothers and sisters?
Yes, very much so. It felt we took that role fairly seriously, and we were pretty much
mini
told
daddies.
that was our responsibility to do that, and I quite enjoyed the task. Yeah, but there were times when it was a bit of a burden. But so we had that experience of taking responsibility for the younger ones, yeah.
And then I think you said your dad moved.
What happened was when Dad decided to set up a business himself, so we moved to the industrial side of town, and we moved into a house where Dad built his business around that. He built a fairly big shed down the back of the house. And he also put a shop out the front where he could sell furniture well. And so we lived and breathed Dad's business. Where Dad was a cabinet maker. He made furniture initially, but competing with overseas market, which quickly became very, very cheap to buy furniture, Dad moved out of that to more buying antique furniture and restoring it. And so he would restore it and we'd sell it in the shop. So as kids, we grew up learning the art of selling and marketing and being part of the business was part of who we were and what we were about.
And business was in the home, like behind your home or something?
No, we lived on top of the business. The business, like a lot of the furniture was stored under the house. A lot of the stuff that was for sale was in the front of the house in the shop. And Dad was down the back restoring the furniture.
And that's quite common in Australia. I remember when I first came to Australia in 1988, we got into fast foods.
Oh, okay.
My ex-husband and myself, and the fast food shop would be down and the owners lived on top kind of thing. So
yes, was that
we didn't have
common?
That in India. But
you didn't?
No,
okay.
no, but it seems like it was
so
quite
it was
a
more
common
an Australian thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And did you get involved in your dad's business?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were expected to,
Okay, so not by choice.
It was fairly intense, really. We were always, there was this sort of an on-edgeness that Dad had. And it was always like, if we got home from school and we were, just needing a bit of a break and put the TV on, you almost knew that, oh, God, if you heard those steps coming, Dad's steps coming up, it was like, look busy. So that I think I grew up with a sort of a slight anxiety about living life and feeling that I always had to do stuff. You just couldn't sit around and just sit and watch TV or just relax.
Yes, and especially being the third eldest
exactly.
as well, you were kind of expected to not only be with your younger siblings, but also contribute and support your dad
Exactly.
in his business.
Yeah. So there was all that sort of being part of the whole family cell.
Yeah,
and,
it was a family business.
A family business. So
Yeah.
it was, and we sailed pretty close to the wind. There wasn't much excess.
When you say that, what do you mean by
That
sail
means-
close to the wind?
In terms of just money in, money out,
Yes.
there was not a lot to sort of spread around. So we were
Yeah,
conscious
that kind
of
of sounds like you've had apart from having to work as a young, how old were you when you moved to the industrial area, you said?
I was 8. Yeah,
8,
yeah.
yeah.
So
A bit young for being a business
Yes.
thing.
No.
But look,
yeah,
I think it all kind of contributes to our maturity in terms of you're not only, you had this amazing childhood,
Yes.
0 to 7,
yeah,
with all your cousins and grandmothers close by and aunties and whatever.
yeah.
And then you got a little bit of growing up faster
Yes.
than you should,
Yeah, that's right.
could
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
But it would have contributed to being, to your being stable-minded
Exactly.
and mature and all of that.
I think one of the
having
really
to-
big things that it did for me was being really aware of the working class, and we were very much conscious we were working class because people used to go, "Where do you live?" I say, "Jellicoe Street." "What end?" "Oh, down that." "Oh, the industrial end," And everyone goes, "Oh, I thought you might have lived up," because the other side was, much higher class.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
we were working class, and we were very conscious of that, and so that whole resonance with people of working class background and values is.
Probably where you got all your social
Which is
justice
why,
values
probably
from.
why we as a community are in the union building at the moment. I feel at home.
That's funny. And what did you have any during COVID? Did you have any
skipping
challenges?
a few steps here,
Yeah.
So my baby mama and I started Black Star.
Who's your baby
My
mama?
baby mama, my kid's mom.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we started Black Star together.
Yes.
We had like 13 years of marriage, and we were very plugged into the local community. And we actually ran that course in the end for like maybe 7 or 8 years. We were running the Waiters Union course, and all manner of mission, like I guess projects and activist projects and growing veggies, and people would come and drop into the house. But I was studying the social science, community development, and looking more at like we need to start businesses that represent our values and that are more thinking about the planet and thinking about community and inclusion. That are more
Beautiful.
about connection, not just about
Yes.
profits.
Correct.
So I was studying that. I was on a mission to do that as my career path or life path. And Ruby's and my former wife is quite entrepreneurial and very into food and connection and so we decided we were inspired by friends in New Zealand that started People's Coffee, which is a fair trade roastery in Wellington. We also had my former wife's cousin running a very successful cafe here in West End. No, not in West End, in the Valley. We decided to do Black Star because it just seemed to be like it was almost obvious, and so many flows and so many easy. It's just serendipity, really. It's just.
And did COVID affect you all much? Because I don't. It was just before COVID you started or something. Oh no, way
No,
before.
we started
way before.
2007.
Yes. Yeah.
So there was a lot of support for what we were doing because of that base we had in
But
West End.
Did it affect you all? COVID?
Oh, sorry, COVID. Yeah. So COVID. Skipping, it's hard to talk about this stuff and skip so many steps.
I know.
Yeah, but anyway, let's go there. So COVID, we were heavily, now we're talking business.
Yeah.
We were heavily CBD based.
Right.
And CBD people didn't come to work on Mondays and Fridays, but you got to keep paying rents. So COVID was devastating for our model. Our business model was it wasn't going to survive that. So we ended up having to change the business model completely. That's been a journey of like 3 or 4 years, but I'd say the business model before, even without COVID, was not making much money. It's a competitive space, coffee roasting, and cafes. There's millions of cafes. So in the end, I've, like a lot of things in life, I've learned like from a lot of mistakes, and COVID actually gave us, it was a blessing and a curse. It gave us the opportunity because things had to change.
Yeah.
And people were okay with business owners making drastic decisions. So I had to make some drastic calls with the support of my mentors and advisors. We had to let a lot of our staff go. We had to do a lot of deals to try to get out of rents in the city, and basically we just jettisoned a whole lot of stuff that was probably never going to make money anyway, and ended up with a much smaller but more sustainable and viable model, which we can build
well
on.
done.
So yeah, we've kind of come out of it
done. And I
pretty
think
well.
you're in a good place now from what I see, and when I come there to Black Star as well, it seems like quite a little buzzing place, and as you said,
My staff is so amazing. I'm so blessed.
Yes.
They're really like behind me, and
Look,
so
you've done
committed.
the whole
They're
circle
amazing.
from goggles to Black Star.
She looked at me reading out this manuscript. And she's reading it, looking at me, reading it, typing, going, putting two and two together, and maybe Sai Baba could help cure my
Because
granddaughter.
he was kind of out there as a healer,
Yeah,
doing
out there
miracles
as
and stuff.
well. Yeah, putting lots of big claims out there about healing and how he was an avatar before the word avatar was popular. Avatar meaning, which original meaning meant a direct descendant from God. So we sort of met the author, who was a lovely man, him and his wife, Howard and Iris Murfitt. We met them. We cried bhakti tears, which is tears of release. My grandmother released kind of agnostic ways and broke down and we became devotees very quickly after that. And, of course, I was young, so I believed it 100%.
Wow.
100%.
We're so malleable as children, isn't it? And like sponges almost. And also I think I was reading somewhere, for children, parents are their gods. So anything a parent tells a child, they'll believe them.
Especially my
so
grandmother.
you better be telling them good stuff, because
That's
they'll
right.
believe everything you tell them.
And I'm very much of the opinion that I like, especially now as I grow older, when I teach, for instance, I teach what I hope is people how to think rather than what to think. Because everyone has
to blatantly believe,
Yeah.
to question.
Yeah, to question.
Yes.
I was a big questioner. And, of course, throughout our devotee years with Sai Baba, there was always a question that was burning in my mind that was never answered, and that is it God's will or is it our will? And that was never addressed. And so I will say that there was a ton of thought-terminating cliches that were thrown at me. It is what it is. Don't try and understand Sai Baba's mystery, just get immersed in him, which is a thought-terminating cliche. It stops all thought. Okay. So we would. So anything that would stray us off the path, we were reined in by lots of things, lots of little
Words
adages
and language that kind of
that stopped
shut
us,
you down.
shut the down. Yeah.
I always think to myself, why would we have been given intellect if we were expected to suspend it?
Exactly.
You're not expected to take your intellect and put it aside. Why would you be given it in the first place? So use it. But tell me something. You did get cured by.
I did.
You did. So
I did, which is really quite interesting, because when I did get cured, it's a longer story for another time. But when we met Sai Baba in 1979, he said quite not ironically, but quite mysteriously, he said that I cured myself, which, as it turns out, was the truth.
I believe that.
I went into remission and cured myself because my belief was 100,000,000%. You couldn't have told me that it was not true. You could have presented all the arguments. I wouldn't have believed. I believed so strongly that I cured myself. And
that's amazing.
yes,
I mean, that in itself, if you threw everything else away, I know you're not a devotee of Sai Baba today.
Not anymore, no.
But if you just took that all you got to do is believe and feel the feeling of having been cured, that you can make it happen.
Well, I won't say
Do you
that
think
either
that?
because
No?
there's people who believe
Okay.
and they don't
Right.
get cured. I was just very lucky. I think because I was a child, there was an element of my absolute 100% devotion. And I liked being devotional. I liked ritual.
And
I
you used
liked,
to sing.
yes,
You
we
sang
sang bhajan, which is like kirtan. People say kirtan or bhajan. Devotional singing was absolutely joyous to me, and I loved learning things in languages, hence my love of multiculturalism, because I love learning songs in languages. I love the devotional aspect. I love the way it takes you away. I love the idea behind the songs, the sweetness, the surrender. It just fit my worldview so beautifully that I was perfect, right for the picking, really. I was the right person. I always said that if I was a bit older, I probably wouldn't have been cured because I got more skeptical as I got older.
Correct.
As the world showed me different differences.
Because as children, you've got a very, your worldview is much more
Narrow.
Is pure. Is pure in
Pure,
that
narrow,
sense. You know, you
yes,
haven't been
absolutely.
contaminated by anything. So if somebody
Nothing.
tells you something, bang, you believe that.
Oh, and I wanted to believe because I saw that my parents really needed me to believe this. And I realize now it's because they were so desperate.
Say that again. You saw that your parents needed you to believe this.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because they needed to believe it. I needed to believe it. And because we decided not to go with conventional medicine. We didn't. We did short-term hormone therapy,
Right.
which gave me weight gain, obesity, pimples, hair loss, all of that stuff because it was male hormones. And it could have been quite devastating if I'd kept going, but it was to give me quality of life, not to give me a cure. So we went off it completely and went on to the ash that he so-called produces, manifests called Vibhuti. And that was to pray. And I did it diligently, didn't miss a day, absolutely 100%. And I knew that, and my grandparents also bribed me. They said, I was a nerdy stamp collector. They said, if your blood count goes up, we'll give you first day cover and we'll give you some more stamps. And
Wow.
there was always, and I finally kind of got some attention from my grandparents, my grandfather mostly, and from my grandmother. I guess any attention for kids is good attention, not
course.
negative. So, yeah.
Wow.
It was, looking back, there's, you can really unpack a lot of the stuff as, and I really did believe, I really did. I believed and believed and believed until I saw something.
And being white in an Indian ashram kind of thing or whatever. Was it an ashram that you were in? What was it?
Yeah, I was at the ashram where he was born.
Yeah,
with the
back in
party.
those days, at least from what I remember and recall, if you're white in India, they kind of treat you like you're a
Absolutely.
goddess kind of thing. So you would have got
Lots
even
of-
more,
Especially back in those days,
yes,
in the 70s.
and a singing
80s.
goddess.
Well, I wasn't-
and one whose illness was cured. So
Yes, that was the big thing. It was because my illness was cured. Not everybody's is. So I was given a probably more special treatment. I didn't feel like it was any more special, but it's because there was more Indians and Westerners
Yes,
going
yes.
there.
you were like a star child.
We I guess we were. I didn't feel it, but I guess we were.
I was in the shower, and if you ever need a reason why your best ideas come through in the shower,
Yes, for me, absolutely they do.
well, it's sensory deprivation. So because you've got this sensory deprivation going on, again, we're talking about these in-between spaces where,
Yes.
know.
Oh, wow.
and so,
I get all my ideas in the
Yeah.
shower, Jack.
yeah.
That's amazing.
There
And
you
like
are.
I'm having like the water on your head.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, bang, I've literally got all whenever I've done a community project, the ideas have come in the shower and I can remember
I'm
them.
not surprised. I'm not surprised. And so I had,
So just to
yeah.
go back there, the sensory deprivations, just explain that to me again.
because you've got, as I understand it, I mean, you've got other stimuli going on, like that's sort of maybe, I don't know, masking other perception, that you have.
Right, yes.
Don't ask me. I'm not, medical in
No,
that
you are
sense.
your
but,
understanding of it,
but yeah, like I know that it's a sensory deprivation thing. And so this, I suddenly get the full piano music come back into my sort of senses, except all these lyrics are just coming through, but like they're aching, you know, like every word just ached. And I, by the way, I was in a very fulfilled period of my life because I've got my investment to put on a musical, I'm creating, so I wasn't sad at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I woke up, that's the part that I'm missing. Before I got into the shower, I woke up randomly bawling my eyes out for no reason.
This is before you went into the shower.
And then I got into the shower, and I got into the shower because I thought I've got to change. Why am I just crying for no reason? And so then I get into the shower and I'm just sobbing. And as I said, you know, these lyrics are just coming through with the melody. And this was a instrumental piece of piano music. I had no lyrics for it, no melody. And all of a sudden, it's like the experience sort of joined. And, you know, my mum's very open to these things. And I wanted to stop, honestly, in the throes of it, but it would not let me until I had finished this entire thing. And I phoned my mum up and she said, without me even telling her what had happened, she said, I've been thinking about Ray. And she said, I know what you're going to say. So,
wow.
You know, there was something
This is your
odd.
uncle?
Yeah, the concert pianist, yeah. There was something odd that day that happened, and the song is The Day, and it sums up and released a lot of the pain that I'd been through in my earlier life, you know.
Beautiful.
You want me to sing it, don't you?
I do want you to sing it.
I'll sing you the first.
As
a little
whatever
bit.
you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And stop whenever you feel like.
Yeah. This bag of problems, this rigged deck of cards, this human body chose to wear the scars. This broken family still loving hard. One man's story, courageous till he fell apart.
Wow.
Thank you for saving my life tonight. I'm oh so glad you came. You gave me your remedies. You took away the pain. Yeah, that would do.
Wow. Wow. I'm tearing up listening to you. That's beautiful, Jack. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
No, thank you.
We weren't anticipating you singing a song.
No, well, you know what? If you enjoyed that, I would be remiss not to promote the soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
So
where are these available?
So if you visit jacktaroni.com or Punchy.
Is that you on the cover?
Yeah, that's me on the cover.
A little more hippier than you are now.
Yeah, right. And you can go to punchythemusical.com and the merchandise store is there.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Where did you grow up, Luke? In which part of Australia?
In Nerang on the Gold Coast,
Right.
just in between Mount Nathan. So it's kind of like in the hinterland area. I spent the most part. And then I moved out west. Dad got a transfer with his role in the ambulance as the area coordinator for Southeast Queensland, which was in Roma.
Right.
Which is in the middle of
Nowhere.
bloody nowhere. And I cried moving there.
Yes. How old were you?
I think I was 17. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's a critical age to leave, to be uprooted from all your teenage friends.
Yeah, see, I left
stuff.
school in year 10 and I did a pre-vocational engineering in electrical and electronics. So I was going to be an electrician. So I effectively did 2 years of my apprenticeship in that. I did. I left that to move out there, which is just fine, another adventure. And I didn't really have a problem with it, but I was sad to leave all my friends. I already left them finishing school and, I didn't, you're really only making new friends and being that odd age where you're not 18, so you can't meet new people out, but you're still trying to connect with your friends that are at school. So it was a really weird time because I didn't I didn't have my brothers because Murray was off with the army. Cameron was off doing whatever he's doing. Louise was busy doing what she's doing. So there was that gap where I felt like when I left school, it was just work, and I didn't really have any mates other than one in the street that I used to hang out with.
How was that for you?
Well, when I think about it, hasn't really. I don't think it's shaped me in any way, but it's made me, I think, learn to be a little bit more self-sufficient with the way I occupy my time and to find things to busy myself. I've never had a moment where I've got nothing to do, being that I have ADHD, and I was the one that was never diagnosed at school because that was if you were bouncing off walls, but I wasn't. I was daydreaming about what I'm going to build on the weekend, or am I going to build a half pipe in the backyard or build a tree house, or what am I going to do? So it was more, I just always found things to do. So I was never bored.
Yeah. And you become more resilient as well.
Yeah.
And you can be more resourceful about filling your time and entertaining yourself, so to speak. So then around 17, you said your dad moved to Roma.
Yeah. I'm
And
sure it was about 17.
Did your older siblings move as well, or were they settled over here in Brisbane?
Actually,
at the
I might have
time?
been 16. I might have been 16, sorry, because I do think I turned 18 out there and we were there for 18 months. So I might have just been halfway through 16.
And so what did you do in Roma? What, as in
I
at
just-
16? So you left school at 15,
Yeah, it's probably about,
grade 10.
yeah, roughly.
And so what did you get up to in Roma?
I just got a job.
Okay.
Yeah, and anything. I think the first job I had, looked at what was out there, and I got a job in Tandy. Do you remember Tandy's?
No.
So it was an electronics store,
Oh, yes, of course.
It was like Dick Smith.
Yeah.
but cooler, I think. And he had an air conditioning for cars business next door. So it was like an automotive thing where he did regassing of air conditioning. Nice guy, very, very weird. It was kind of my first interaction with someone from a very different community to growing up on the Gold Coast, surfing most weekends and, just being a coastal kid to moving in the middle of nowhere. It was like, this was a complete culture shock, and I had no idea what to expect. The first day that I was there, I went skating through the streets, which we got there on a Sunday, and I went for a skate, and there was like no one. The town was dead. And I remember thinking, is this like what it's like all the time? There's no one living. It was a ghost town.
Wow.
6,000 people in population, but I was skating down the street, absolutely no one. And then I heard police sirens and pulled me over.
Why? Because you were skating on the road randomly.
No, I was on a footpath.
So then?
You can't
did they
skate on
pull you off?
footpaths.
Okay.
And I didn't know this. It's like, wasn't privy
And
to
you were
this
easily
rule.
spottable because there was nobody else
Well,
around.
the dickhead just did himself a number because my dad was the boss of the ambulance.
Oh, jeez.
And he was the young constable and revved it up me for something. I just went home and told Dad, and he got his ass handed to him the next day. She's like, you've just upset the new Ambo's, the boss Ambo's kid, and you shouldn't have done that.
Oh, no.
It was like, but I was doing nothing wrong. And it was an apology about it, but yeah.
Yeah, and so your friends, so when you moved to Roma and you left your friends behind here in Brisbane, did you stay in touch with, did you all have phones at that time?
One friend I
Was
did
there-
who I've known since I was 2 and I still friends with. But no, there was, I did get I got my first mobile phone in Roma actually, and it was on a CDMA network, so it was a weird thing. But he was the only one I really kept in touch with, Jackson. And then when he finished school, he went and worked on a station for a little bit, which was in Charleville, not far from us. So he came out to ride my dirt bike when I was out there, and this is typical Jackson. He cannot ride a motorbike. He's the most uncoordinated person you'll ever meet, but thinks that he can send it on everything. Immediately went to jump, went over the bars, and the clutch lever stabbed him in the side of his hip, and he's still got the scar there to this day. But that was really the only person I saw when I was out there. And it was just making friends with people there, and which is very hard because they're very cliquey in small communities.
And especially at that age as well. It's like 14 to 17, I think, very formative years, more so for boys as well.
I think so.
Because,
Yeah. But I didn't have a problem with it. Once coming back to the way I've been brought up and how to communicate with people, I felt like I could do that and I wasn't worried by it. But, going through jobs, and I quit that job, and then I started working and doing a motorcycle mechanic apprenticeship, which I got
While you were there?
Yeah, while I was in Roma, and that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I got a year into it, and I'd had enough of the town. I just said to Mum and Dad, I want to leave. I'm 18. I want to go back to the coast. So they were cool. I think they were pretty upset by it because we'd go home for lunch every day, and I'd ride my motorbike home for lunch on lunch breaks, and Dad would come home, Mum would cook soup and fresh bread every day, and it was great. Like I felt
you had the good family.
I did, and I felt like when I think about it now, I feel really bad for Mum too, because she was out there, and I think I was the only thing that like gave her that little bit of sanity, because Dad was busy with work and she didn't have anyone else. Yeah.
As well as, I guess, being a very little girl growing up unbeknownst to me in a grieving home, I also just felt very isolated. Once I'd get home from school or on the weekends, my mother was very traditionally brought up, and her marriage was very traditional for the time, so she didn't drive or work. So I had to rely on my dad, who worked really long hours, to drive me places, which would mean I would just be stuck at home a lot. And I did feel lonely, and I felt a pining to be around people. I was good at making up games by myself and have imaginary, little stories that I'd play out, and cubby houses galore. We had lovely property with trees that I could build a cubby and all of those nice things. But I was still at the end of the day quite lonely. And I'd forgotten for many years, but my dad, before he passed away, for some reason reminded me of a little endeavour. I would have been about, I'd say 11 years old approximately, and I started the Fun Club. So it's a bit reminiscent of you door knocking when you wanted to connect with your community. I hand wrote flyers and put them in the neighbours around the block and then the next block that I knew had young kids my own age, inviting them to our house on a Friday afternoon once a fortnight, where we would do craft and have afternoon tea together.
Wow.
Yeah.
11.
Yeah.
11
my brother
years.
even mentioned it not that long ago about what a funny, quirky kid I was. And I was thinking, I don't know if it was quirkiness or just desperation for friends and connection. And it was a success. And Peter, my brother, was marveling at when he would see Fun Club in action in our little barbecue area with all our craft and our drinks beside us. A lot of the kids were quite a bit older, and there I was holding court, giving instructions. I was in my element, and maybe that was a real saving grace for me.
That is awesome. I love that story. That's just, I think similar to what you said just now, in our desperation, we just go out. Nothing stops you when you're desperate to connect, and we're all hardwired to connect as human beings.
Yes.
And especially as a young child, if you're suddenly and living far away. Did you say whereabouts did you grow up?
So we grew up in Algester next to Sunnybank Hills,
Right.
and it was back before all of the subdivisions. So there were large parcels of land, and the school that I went to was, it was a 15-minute walk to the bus, and then another 15, 20-minute ride to the school. And then in the afternoon, it was the same in reverse, but you had to wait half an hour at the bus stop for the bus to arrive. So it was a real
Out
trek.
of the way, yeah.
Kids
yeah.
didn't come over for play dates. And if I was to be invited to a play date, it then logistically became hard how I would get home.
Yeah, and your father had to drive and bring you back.
He
and
would be
forth.
at work.
So, out of this connection thing with the locals from your school did they come to your house? You said in your courtyard.
They did.
Did you develop close friendships with any of them? Any of those kids?
We did. There were a couple of friends that I forged really lovely friendships, actually about 3 for many years. Yeah. And if you think about it, we didn't have a lot in common.
Yeah.
All we really had was geography.
Yes.
We were nearby, and proximity was, and we know that that's one of the big ways people attract friends and maintain friends, proximity.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was perfect for the time, and I didn't even see it as such a big deal. It just seemed like a really obvious step to do, and I didn't even think, oh wow, that was an achievement. It was just like, cool, I've got some friends to hang out with, and at least once a fortnight, I'm going to have them all over at my house. I can boss them around a little bit.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're quite enterprising even as a young girl, always wanting to, connect, like bring people together kind of thing.
I think in lots of different ways. I've got a laundry list of crazy things. I used to collect mulberries from our tree and bag them up and sit at the top of the street and sell them. Goodness knows who would ever want these mushed up, sitting in the sun, plastic bags of purple mush. But so many people would pull over and, spend the 50 cents for their mulberries.
I think probably as a lone child, you were a girl, you're much big age difference between your older brother and yourself, and you've got yourself to basically come up with ideas on how to connect and pass your time and whatever. But good on you. I mean, that's amazing what you were able to do and connect with,
Thank you.
the locals.